U.S.-China relations. Chinese tech giant Huawei taking out a full-page ad in the Journal telling Americans not believe what they hear about the company. Don't believe everything you hear, they write. Come and see us. Huawei defending itself against accusations that it steals trade secrets. Earlier this morning, I addressed these concerns with the chief security officer at the company, Andy Purdy, in this exclusive interview. Over the last several years, I can cite a list of companies that have sued you and you've done settlements with. Motorola Solutions, T-Mobile, Cisco. All of those companies sued Huawei for stealing trade secrets.
There have been no major cybersecurity incidents in the world involving Huawei. That industry and the fact that we've had some lawsuits in the past has characterized the industry for the last 20 years. We have resolved those issues, and we're moving forward. The remaining issues we hope to resolve in the next year or so. But
to say there have been no issues with Huawei is just 100% inaccurate. I just listed the number of companies that have sued you for stealing trade secrets and the settlements that you've done.
Maria, I did not disagree with the facts of those cases.
Okay.
I did not disagree with those.
Okay. My next guest has written an op-ed called "Will the U.S. Capitulate to China?" Joining us right now is Harvard Economics Professor and former Reagan Economic Advisor Martin Feldstein. Professor, good to see you this morning. Thank you for being here.
Good to be with you.
What kind of a deal do you want to see between the U.S. and China, and what's your reaction to the Huawei Telecom security officer?
Well, what I would like to see is a deal that focuses on the key issue, which is China stealing technology. They steal it through the Internet. They steal it by forcing American companies to share technology in order to do business in China. And the Chinese have really been very clever. They didn't talk about that in these negotiations. Instead, they said, well, we'll just buy a lot of soybeans and natural gas and other stuff, cut the bilateral trade imbalance. And alas, the president seems to have accepted that.
Well, I don't know that he's accepted it. I mean, I don't think that kind of a deal would fly. I mean, I think now we all know the issues around theft.
But I think that's where he's heading.
Really?
Yeah, I think that he's heading to say, look at what I have just won. I have just won a big reduction in our trade deficit with China, and
that's not going to fly, Dagan. What do you think?
But, Marty, can we look at what happened with North Korea, where North Korea came to the table with what was a bad deal for the United States? They wanted kind of vast sanctions relief. And the president and his advisors certainly knew that when you give in on that note with shallow promises from North Korea, then there's no way you can lay those sanctions back on. Can we read anything into...
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, I think that what we were asking North Korea to do was give up their ability to protect themselves by having nuclear capability. And they said thanks, but no thanks. And it was good that the president walked away from that. Mm-hmm. But I think he's not walking away from China. He's setting up to have a meeting with Xi. And the only thing really on the table from the Chinese side is cutting the U.S.-China trade deficit by buying less.
But, Marty, can you really even affect change in an economy that has been having a culture of stealing? I mean, we just spoke with the chief security officer. Huawei itself was created from the assets of Nortel Networks, which is a Canadian telecom company. Yeah. So, I mean, do you think there's any way that you're really going to put a dent in any of this? Because this is a culture.
So when President Obama met with President Xi a few years ago, they agreed, the government, we showed them evidence that the People's Liberation Army was stealing through the Internet. And President Xi agreed to stop doing that.
But he didn't.
Well, I think he probably did. The government isn't doing it, but state-owned enterprises and others are doing it.
Professor, I talked to President Trump at Mar-a-Lago during Thanksgiving, okay? And I said, Mr. President, I said, make whatever deal you can with China so we have a Trump Christmas. And it doesn't matter what you agree to with them on IP, because they're going to steal no matter what you agree. And he looked at me and he said, well, you are right about that. And then he asked me if I looked like a tariff man. And I said, I'm not a tariff man. And he told me that he was a tariff man. So tell me what I got wrong there. Just make any deal with them on the economics. Don't even bother with this IP thing because they're never complying with it.
Well, I think you're right about that he's going to do a deal because the market likes getting a deal. The voters like getting a deal. The most recent ratings of Trump are up at 47%. They're hitting new highs. And that's not because he said, I'm going to be tough. It's because he said, I'm going to meet with President
But
Xi.
I
Look, I
think there's
got
a
to
lost
push back
cause.
on this for a second,
Yeah.
because the fact is this is the first president who's really poked the bear. I mean, you say a meeting between President Xi and President Obama, but the world wasn't talking about this. Nothing really was done. I mean, we had on several CEOs that have said to us in the last couple of years, Motorola Solutions, T-Mobile, Cisco, Microsoft, that they have had their IP stolen.
Absolutely.
Before President Trump made this a major issue, nobody was talking about this. So you say he's going to do an easy deal. Why? Why would he do an easy deal when he's actually the first president to actually bring this to everybody's attention?
So we'll see soon. But I think that's where he's heading.
But what makes you think that? Because I'm trying to see what would. I mean, he's willing to walk away and make tough decisions.
That was true.
So I'm
true
curious
in
why
North
you think he
Korea.
would not force this issue.
Yeah, why?
Because look what's in his rhetoric now about the Chinese. He hasn't said, oh, they're offering to buy a lot of stuff. That's not the issue. What they should be offering is to stop stealing.
But they're
And
not.
Secretary Pompeo was in the studio 2 weeks ago, and he said this is the issue.
I
It's
agree with
exactly
that.
what he said.
Lighthizer says
it. Peter Navarro says it.
But it's an unwinnable issue. It's like getting them to agree to say that they're not stealing.
That's
they're going
a
to keep
different
stealing.
story. I
We
agree
should
with
just
that.
focus on the economic
be.
point and not buy the hallway equipment. That seems to me to be the solution. We won't buy their equipment that poses a security risk.
But the rest of the world has the equipment. So Europe has it. I mean, what did Pompeo say to me 2 weeks ago? That if European nations use telecom equipment from Huawei, they're going to share less information with them.
Well,
so the rest of the world has it.
Well, that's a way of the U.S. cracking down on espionage and theft. To Marty's point, like whatever the trade deal looks like, there are a lot of other levers that this administration can and looks willing to pull. Look no further than what the Justice Department has done with Huawei with these charges, particularly related to the T-Mobile theft. So you've got a lot of different areas of the administration that is putting pressure, regardless of what might come out of this, what this trade deal looks like on the surface.
That's true. They just put the CFO of Huawei in jail.
Right.
Yeah, but Huawei is Huawei. But the general stealing, the forcing American companies to share their technology if they want to do business, that's what we put right at the top of the list. And the Chinese just cleverly said, no, what we'll do is buy your stuff.
Yeah. Well, this is the issue of the day, for sure,
Right.
Marty. We'll see what this deal looks like. You make a really important point. I don't think this administration can afford to have a deal that doesn't include moving the needle on that.
That's right.
Whether or not they'll be able to change a culture is another
I
conversation.
think if the president says, look what I've won, the Chinese have bought $200 billion more of stuff. And, well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll be back.
I don't think it's going to fly. I don't think it's going to fly. I think people are now more educated than ever before about the Chinese practices. But we'll see. Marty, it's good to see you.
Great to see you.
Thanks for writing that op-ed. Get us all fired up. Marty Feldstein joining us there.